Hello, Liberty University. My name is Jennifer Creese, and I'm currently enrolled as a student with Liberty University in the School of Business, working on my doctoral in strategic leadership. I'd like to start us out with a Bible verse, Hebrews 13:7. Remember your leaders who spoke the word of God to you. Consider the outcome of their way of life and imitate their faith. Mentorship is important for so many reasons. Mentorship gives us hope. Mentorship gives us the will to want to keep going. It gives us someone to look up to, whether that be someone in our personal life or whether it be in our work life. Mentorship means a lot in a lot of ways of our lifespan. I have been graced enough by God to be afforded to have one of those. And, for a long time, I never thought I was going to have one. I'd heard about everyone having these mentors and they let them and, they gave them all these opportunities. And I'm like, when is my day going to come? At that time, I was really in a bad spot. I was trying to propel myself into a new career. I had gotten out of the military, and things just didn't really go the way I thought. Here I was. I hold a master's in aeronautical science with aviation management. My dad's a pilot. I grew up around planes. I have a bachelor's in aeronautics. I really thought that my life and my place was supposed to be around planes. And just right now and at the time, that's just not where God put me. I couldn't understand why I have such a passion for aeronautics, and I still do. But God didn't put me there at that time. God put me somewhere else. And God knows what He's doing. He has that plan for us. And if we're just willing to just be quiet a little bit, give it a little bit of time and a little bit of patience, we end up finding out the why. As a single mother, I was just trying to find what I was going to do next. I was scrambling. We've all been there. What are we going to do? I've got to provide for our kids. I've got to find a career. I'm in my 30s at this point, and what am I going to do with my life? Time's a ticking, right? So what am I going to do? Well, the best thing we do when we first have nothing to do is we pray and we trust God. And I went into a field I never thought I would be going in, and I did. So I entered in 2015 with the post office as a level entry clerk, not having any idea what was in store for me at that time. I entered in there. I'm making no hours. I'm barely scraping by. I'm trying to find the way to make more hours and get more money for my kids and just provide in any way I can. And, we didn't have everything at that time, but we had enough and they had what they needed. And God was gracious enough to do that. But I knew I still wanted to do more. I wanted to be more. I just didn't know how to get there. I was in a new foreign field and I was like, what am I supposed to do? What am I going to do in the post office? I've lived around planes for 30 plus years. I don't know anything about this place. And so as I started to progress and I started to move up, I took opportunities. I always made sure to take those opportunities that nobody else wanted, because that's how it got me somewhere further. I just wanted more money at that time. At the time, I just wanted money for my kids. I was like, I want a better lifestyle, I want a better work-life balance. Let me find a way to just provide. I wanted to be able to do anything I could for my kids. And so I took every position I could that I thought would possibly propel me that way. So I get up, I make my next step. I get to be a regular. So now I'm on the time clock. I'm making retirement pay. I'm able to, really start a career and apply for other positions. I'm not like a temporary anymore. I'm a real employee of the post office, and I'm able to try to go and do whatever I want to do. And in the post office, there are 3,000 jobs. So if you don't like one, pick one. So that's what I did. I started to look around. How can I build this career path to go somewhere and make something myself in this new area that I've never been in? After I became a regular and I applied for my next position, it was to be a plant supervisor downtown in Grand Rapids. And I was in retail. I'd been in customer service. I knew the window. I knew how to process packages. I had never seen the logistics processing side of the post office at that time. But it was an open ability, and they said this job was going to stink. They said, you're not going to like it. It's going to be not good hours, but it'll propel you into management. And I was like, that's all I want. I just want a shot. I just want a shot. So I go and I do my first interview, and lo and behold, would that be the day that changed my life? That was the day I met someone. I walked into the room, and his name was Bill. And I walked into that room and he had his tie and his coat. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm in a different kind of interview now, huh? He sat me down and I couldn't have been any more nervous. And he just talked to me. He knew where I was coming from. He knew I was coming from a different side of the field there, and it would be a different experience. But there was something that happened in that interview. That interview lasted about an hour, and it lasted a while. And it was just talking back and forth. And there was just something that was intriguing about this person. I was like, he knows a lot. He was very professional. And there was just something that just clicked that day. Well, fast forward, I ended up getting the position, and I started to come around with Bill, and he started taking me under his wing, and he said, hey, why don't you come up to the plant and I'll walk you around, show you what you're looking at, show you the building, I'll show you the people, I'll show you all of this stuff to try to get you, jump started into this new area that you're going to be going into with the post office so we can get your training started. And I did that on my off time. So I was still working at the other retail facility, and on my off time and anytime I could, I came up there to try to see what Bill was doing, and he would walk me around. He walked me around the floor and showing me the machines and how things were working. And boy, was I all over lost. I was like, wow, I'm supposed to manage people and manage this operation, and I have no idea what I'm getting myself into. That was when Bill gave me the most important piece of advice that has carried with me to this day and will carry with me until the rest of my working career. He looked at me as I was lost and going, man, there's just so much to learn, and what am I going to do? He looked at me and he said, Jennifer, he said, if you can learn to manage people, you can manage any operation out there. It doesn't matter what you do. As long as you can manage people efficiently, you'll be able to do anything. That has stuck with me my entire career. Every job that I've been propelled into that I was like, how am I going to get through this? The more I focused on my people is when I noticed my operation worked better. I focused on the people that were doing the job, not on the operation, because once I took care of them, my operation took care of itself. Every time I met with Bill, I'd watch how he interacted with the people. I'd watch how he talked amongst the employees. I looked and saw how people looked at him when he walked on the floor. He had a presence about him. He was respected, but people knew not to mess with Bill. He was well-rounded, he's educated, and he's a very respected leader. I wanted to be just like Bill. Bill is successful, he's well-rounded and educated, respected. There was all of these good qualities, good character qualities that made him a good leader, that made me want to go, okay, if I do these things, if I can learn how to be like XYZ, maybe I can propel myself as well. At the time I had taken this job, I was in a pretty bad spot. I was in a bad relationship trying to get out. And I, of course, as a single mom in a state that I never lived before, I didn't know what to do or how to do it. And I was like, okay, I just got to keep climbing. And, I learned a lot over the next couple years. I was young, and so I had a lot to learn, how to dress, how to act, what I was going to do, and how I was going to, I had to start changing my behaviors in order to start acting like a leader. And every time I came into work and I did something, whether it be something goofy I might have worn or whatever, Bill didn't look down on me. I would get the look of, are you kidding? Are you serious? Like, we're trying to grow you here and you're coming in looking like this. You're not helping us. So, it just takes time, to grow, and a good mentor will have that patience with you. And he did. Every position that I've taken, I have learned something from it. And after I moved on after that position. I went to be a postmaster. And again, I had never been a postmaster. I'd now been in processing and logistics for a couple years, being out of retail for a while. And so now here I was a postmaster. I was going to control the cities and the town and, again, more carriers and people. I'd never even been a supervisor of carriers at that time. Again, a job that, what am I supposed to do, Lord? And I think back to that mentor, right? I think back, I was like, Jennifer, lean on your people. again, that advice carried me everywhere, and it still does. I was able to get out of Michigan and completely and get away from the bad place we were in. And I was driving 2 hours to work, with I never saw my kids, but I did it to get me the opportunity to go somewhere, right? So sometimes we just have to, we think that, man, this is good, but it's bad, right? So, but all those opportunities afforded me the ability to move. And I finally was able to move out of the bad situation. And I moved into Iowa, where now I was the postmaster of 8 cities, and a lot more responsibility. The move ended up being the scariest thing I think I'd ever done. I had moved away from an 8-year relationship. I was going into another state, and I was going to be the postmaster of 8 cities, but it was nice. It was actually everything that I needed, and every step, every struggle, every step of that process had taken me to where I got here. And in Iowa, I was able to have the chance to heal and see my daughter every time I wanted to, because we were right around the corner. It's a small town. And I only did this for a couple years until I eventually got into headquarters. And now I work for headquarters in Washington, D.C. for United States Postal Service. I'm one of 8 air planners that currently mitigate the mail for the whole entire country. So very neat job. I have a different attribute. Again, I'm back in logistics. So the post office has awarded me a lot of opportunity. But I guess I say all of that to say that I don't feel that without that proper mentorship, that proper drive, that someone that was there in my life at a time where I was lost, I was confused, I didn't have a lot of hope, I didn't know what to do, I needed someone to help me grow. Looking back on Bill and our mentorship and what he provided to me, what I really realized is that it took 2 of us. It wasn't just Bill that helped progress me and hire me and give me the opportunity to become into management and, teach me the skills. It took 2 of us. I had to want to be receptive to everything that he was willing to teach me. I had to want to learn. I had to want to get better myself. Bill, on the other hand, had to be patient with me, as I wasn't going to become a leader overnight. But what I can say is that leadership and that mentorship has lasted me for several years now, and I see us being lifelong friends. And mentorship was more than just mentorship. So I say all of this to you, and I hope that what you find a little bit in my story is that sometimes someone comes into your life and changes it so unexpectedly at the most unexpected time that you could ever imagine. Bill changed my life in so many ways. He provided emotional support, and we ended up turning into friends down the line. And the advice, I still lean on him for professional advice as I have progressed in my career. That mentorship has lasted forever. And so what I hope you get from my story is you find that even though it looks dark and even though it looks like there might be no way out, God is always there. God knows what you need, and God knows who you need. I thought I belonged around airplanes, and I still am not convinced I'm not, but right now God isn't calling me to airplanes. He's called me to the post office, and he did so I could meet this amazing mentor that has changed me as a leader for the rest of my life. So while it might feel dark and while it might feel confusing, just know that God has a plan, and just know that your mentor is out there if you have not met him already. God says, "For the student is not above the teacher, but everyone who is fully trained will be like their teacher." Matthew 6:40. Thank you for listening to my story today, and I hope God continues to bless each and every one of you. And